Happy holidays. Thank you once again for joining us, and we are very excited that you're part of this video here. This is our predictions for 2023 on what's going to be changing on digital data and public workplaces. So we're looking forward to this, and let's go ahead and see what's coming in 2023.
All right, let's get to work. So the first thing that we're predicting that we'll be seeing in this coming year is the container orchestration systems. And these are systems that allow data and applications to exist in multiple isolated space instances. Like for instance, you have your Kubernetes, OpenShift, Ansible, and such. And the driving force behind this is ability to quickly scale and manage and also isolate our applications and data. So that we'll see quite a bit of a push from these container orchestration systems as we proceed in this coming year. The next one that we see is the data virtualization, and this one is utilizing data at source. That way you don't have to ETL your data, you don't have to move the data. All that allows us to be able to have an integrated data. There's no need of us to implement an integrated data platform, so like your data warehouse and such. So you can be able to consume data from source. And then the key thing that we'll be able to see now is the growth of the virtual layer, virtualization layer, and that's where we can be able to do our classifications, mapping, labeling, caching, and such. But the data remains where it is. The driving force on this one is usually faster implementations, and then there's no point of having dedupes. So that's a key piece that also we are predicting that's going to be happening this coming year. The next one that we see is the growth of ML and AI. They continue to transform data generated as well as processed and consumed. Like now, for instance, there is the OpenAI. I think everybody by now is familiar with the chat GPT, and that's still going to continue with the growth because there's advancement of it so that it can be able to produce human-like text. So from 2023 we'll see quite a bit of this augmented analytics, and then the partnerships that are being created by OpenAI, like now for instance they just did one with Microsoft. That also just shows you that that space is just going to continue to grow. So that's another space there that we want to be aware of this coming year. The next one that we have is the synthetic data. Now that we have the augmented analytics, we need more data for us to be able to drive that. And being able to generate real data becomes a little bit cumbersome. So let's say, for instance, we're doing things like fraud detection. It's a little bit cumbersome for us to be able to detect that or be able to generate data that will be able to cater for every fraud detection that we have out there. So synthetic data is going to grow quite a bit, and as you can see also from the Gartner predictions here, by the year 2030 most of the data that we are going to be using for our model training and also consuming it, it's really just training our models and making sure that they are responding the way we want. That's really going to be synthetic data. So we're going to see quite a bit of this. We're starting to see an uptake of it. So that's another piece. And the driving force behind this is confidentiality as well as regulations, because we want to make sure that the personal identifiable data remains that. But if I can be able to generate data that still does the same thing, but it cannot really it's not a P2 data, then it's much more ideal. So we'll see an uptake of this one as well. The next one that we're predicting that's going to be happening is the small data growth. So yes, we had this phenomena of big data. I think what we did is we had a lot of big data. We generated and we still generate a lot of data. Then we built these massive data lakes and we put our data out there. But then we ended up with what we call dark data. It's data that we have it, but we don't have use for it. So I think we'll start seeing organizations here starting to go back to data that's really meaningful to the organization. This is a small data, and it's data that you're really generating internally, like for instance from your ERPs, from your point of sales, such kind of stuff, such kind of data. So we'll start seeing a push toward that, and then just being able to get the metadata behind that data so that we can be able to determine what type of data that we have. So that's another one that we're going to be seeing taking stage over in 2023 as well. The next one that we see is the growth of multi-cloud dependency, and this one here is going to be a little bit interesting because all these clouds, they do actually provide us with they're self-sufficient, right? So if I want to be able to do disaster recovery, I can be able to do that on Azure, AWS, or GCP. If I want to be able to do scaling, if I want to be able to move data around, I can be able to do that. But from regulations perspective, I think and governance, I think this is one of the pieces that we'll start seeing, where now organization will want to have presence in multiple clouds, and then have the ability, again, using things like, for instance, the Kubernetes or the containerization, being able to move our applications and systems between these clouds or across these clouds. So that's one of the things that we're predicting that's going to happen in this coming year. So just be on the lookout that the dependency from multiple cloud or multi-cloud will be on the growth here. The next one that we are predicting is going to be the robotic process automation, and this one has been around, but we haven't really seen it replace the back office automation or the back office tasks as much as organization would have wanted. But I think now things are getting much more easier, like now with the introduction of Power Automate Desktop, that just goes ways for you to be able to automate some of these back office tasks, where it can do the same thing that a human can. You just need to be able to record those activities, and it will be able to pull the same moves. So we'll see an uptick on this one. I think Power Automate Desktop or Power Platform in general, there's going to be quite a bit of growth, which will lead to this robotic process automation process. And this is more being driven by the digital transformation and increased productivity, because again, there's no point of doing those repetitive tasks if we can be able to automate them and have them be done efficiently. The next one that we are predicting that's gonna take off quite a bit is the low code, no code apps. Now from development perspective, Microsoft did introduce, or they just introduced or released the GitHub Copilot, and this is like more for personal assistance for developers, to where actually I can be able to write my code, and then GitHub Copilot will be able to review my code and kind of provide me with better ways of coding, or better ways of actually or efficient ways of having my code perform as expected. So the low code, no code applications, I think this one will have an uptick. And then companies like, for instance, OutSystems and as I mentioned, Power Platform, I think they're continuing to make a push on this, being able to go to market faster, being able to have efficient applications. Those are some of the driving forces that we are going to be seeing as a trend for this coming year. So be on the lookout for that. And then this one here, we kind of had a little bit of a debate within our organization here about it. And this is providing visualization as a service. It's not something that has really taken off, but I think this is something that will also be taking off. And what this all means is that we'll have data visualization as a platform. And then you can be able now to have your visualizations go across, or you can have your data be able to go across different visualizations. We have some of our customers that have both Power BI and Tableau. We have customers that have both Power BI and Spotfire, depending on whatever the environment is. Just having the platform, or you having the framework to where they can all be able to coexist and be able to pull the same truth. I think that will be another piece here that we'll be able to see. And this one's, we are seeing it, it's going to be mostly within the organizations. I think it's going to be across organizations. It's not more like what we have, platform as a service being rendered by vendors out there. So we're predicting that visualization as a service will be more organizational based, and then it will allow us to be able to go through different platforms so that we can be able to deliver the end user needs. The next one that we see, and this one has been around but has been ignored, and it's kind of amazing that a lot of organizations already don't have this, which is the data strategy. Data strategy would take the centerpiece, because now we have all this data, but we don't know what to do with this data. Being able to create that roadmap to allow you to see where you're going as far as your data is concerned, I think this will be very important. And I think it's gonna take center stage because it's been ignored. We have strategies for everything. We have security strategy, we have platform strategy, we have application development strategy, but data strategy is not something that has really been given a lot of attention. I think that's going to shift quite a bit in 2023 and moving forward because of all the amount of data that we have, and then being able to look at that data and determining what data is important for us. I think that's where the data strategy is going to fit in. So those are the top 10 that we're predicting from 2023, sorry. But there's one more that we'll have here as a bonus, and I think this will be huge. It might not really take off in 2023 as much, but I think this one is going to revolutionize the way we do things moving forward, and that's the Metaverse. So Metaverse, I would imagine that everybody knows this was Facebook that rebranded to Meta, but they've created this virtual reality environment that we can be able to do a lot of things that we do on a daily basis. So we think Metaverse is going to revolutionize the way we do business. And think of it now from perspective of doing deployments, doing bug fixes, doing implementations, migrations. If I can be able to do this in a virtual world, do it however many times that I need to do it to make sure that it goes as expected, that will be the key piece there. That way, once we transform now to the physical world or be able to implement it for our end users to consume it, we've already figured out, or we've already gone through all the steps that are necessary for us to make sure that it's a successful implementation, deployment, or migration, whichever one. So I think Meta is taking, it's going to take off, and I think this is a space here that we really need to be aware of and be able to look up. So thank you once again, and we want to hear from you. Let us know what you are predicting from your environment, or what you see as a shift for 2023 from your environment, and leave us comments, and we would like to hear from you. Thank you so much, and have a great day.